Hello, welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the G52 podcast, the podcast featuring Stuart Mack that doesn't have a slick, professional, well-written intro.
No, I don't. Not for this podcast, anyway.
No, you let me do the intro for this one. That was the first thing I noticed when I listened to Out of the Frying Pan was, yeah, Stu's doing this one because it's actually got structure to it. He doesn't just press record and start talking. But anyway, welcome. Yes, it's me, it's Tom, and I am, as always, joined by Stu.
Hello, everyone.
And we are back for episode 3 of season 2. We're actually putting out a podcast at a semi-regular rate now. It's good.
Yeah, sort of. We're getting there.
So I'm going to start with just a little note. Due to the fact Stu has got various nurgling curses from his children, he's got a bit of a plague, and we've decided we're going a little bit backwards here. We're recording over the internet for the first time in 2 years.
It's been a while, yeah, probably 2 years.
Yeah. So we have had an hour of technical fun trying to get this all set up. So apologies if the sound quality isn't quite where it is. We know it's pretty much, I'd say it's like 95% there, isn't it? But we basically got to the point where we're like, we can't get it any better, and we're not going to get recorded. So just if the sound quality, I think the sound quality on my end is a little worse than normal. Apologies, but we wanted to get a show recorded, and I now had to fit in with Stu's, 25 million podcast recording schedule. So
definitely. Well, you know what it's like recording over the internet. It can be a real pain in the ass, and you might be a little bit quieter than normal, Tom. Some people might like it.
Yeah, but some people will probably say that's not a real problem, is it? And I can see the comments that no, it's no worries. Don't worry about talking, Tom. That's fine.
I have full control because when you're in the same room as me, you can, no matter what I do, you can still be picked up on my microphone. But I can mute you. I can I can do all kinds of weird things.
We're actually in your Discord server. You set up a G52 Discord server, and you are in full control. It's yours, and I'm not even an admin on it or anything. So
I don't. Can you set admins? I don't know.
I have no idea. I did Discord. It's what when Discord came out, I think when the Horus guys did it for the first time and stuff, I was like, it's one of the first times I genuinely felt like I'm not up with technology. I don't know what this is for and what it does. I was like, I'm out. I've had that moment where I'm not young and hip anymore.
I remember when I first set up Facebook, I was like that. I was thinking, oh, I know how to use MySpace. That really dates me.
I saw a Twitter thing the other day, and somebody put on their Twitter profile, I really wish we had the ability to edit our Twitter pages and put music and stuff on it. And somebody just commented, we're now at a point where we have a generation of people who don't know about MySpace. I was like, fuck, I'm old. Oh, geez, it was made me laugh. But yeah, anyway, right. This is supposed to be the quick 2-second bit when we introduce what comes into the show and and then go to a break. So I'll do a quick what we got coming up. So we're going to do our usual hobby catch up and have a little chat, talk about what's been going on and all that kind of stuff. And then some listener messages, blah, blah, blah. And our main topic for the day, though, is going to be an introduction to Necromunda. Now, we had planned to do what we did last time and have a game of it, but again, Stu's been a bit crook, so we're going to split kind of Necromunda over 2 shows, hopefully. So we're going to have a good chat about Necromunda, going to talk about the new box set that's come out and give you a bit of an introduction to it. There's quite a surfeit of books and boxes and various bits and pieces, so we'll give a bit of a run through from that. So we'll have a chat about Necromunda, and then we'll a couple of shout outs and we'll get out your ears. So should we go for a little break then, Stu?
Absolutely.
G52 is sponsored by Incom Gaming, the new centre for tabletop wargaming in Gloucestershire. Visit incomgaming.co.uk for great savings on pre-orders and all your hobby needs. We stock many gaming systems and hobby accessories and can ship to anywhere in the UK. Market-leading gaming mats from GameMat.eu. Visit the store and check out how to turn your tabletop into a battlefield. Incom Gaming is based in the centre of Cheltenham and offers tables and scenery for casual and organised play with a fully licensed bar. Check out our events page for upcoming events where everyone is welcome. Visit incomgaming.co.uk. Incom Gaming. Come game, shop, drink.
Right, let's get rolling then. What have we been up to lately? As always, Stu, I imagine you've painted nothing, done nothing.
Definitely not been painting. No, not at all. What have I done?
What have you been up to?
What have I been doing? I've done some Batman miniatures as a commission. What else have I done? A few other things. I've been working on some Sons of Horus, and it's been a bit of a. It's a big project at the moment. I'm still been building mostly, but I did some bits for the same client in the summer, and I just realised that when I was going through photos, just reminding myself of the paint scheme and sorting out some notes that I didn't share them, so I shared those a couple of days ago, so people would have seen those.
So that batch that went up, that was the stuff you did in the summer?
I did it in July, and I thought I'd posted it, and I was looking back through my Instagram to find it, to see, just to check on the sort of the colours and remind myself a bit, and I thought, oh, okay, they're not there. So I shared those. So it's the same army. I'm just adding bits to it.
You put them up on the Gino Instagram yet?
I'm not sure if I've shared them over. No, I think you did at the same time. You put something else up, so I wanted to leave it until the day after.
Yeah, the last one of yours on there is the Shattered Legions that you did.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you haven't seen
I'll
them,
go and use the repost app and get them shared over later on, so people know what we're talking about.
I imagine if you're following the Gino on Instagram, you're probably following Stu as well. So.
People would have seen it in the Facebook group because I shared it over there, so it'd just be the Instagram.
Yeah. Out of interest, what colours did you use for the green? Because I know it's a quite a common talked about topic. That's getting that sea green.
Yeah, it's the official, if you're going to call it official one. The Sons of Horus green that's now Citadel Air, isn't it?
Yeah. No, when the contrast came. So that was something that went under the radar a little bit. I think when contrast dropped, the Citadel Air range got I think it was all, if not 90% of, maybe not the metallics, definitely all the flat colours.
The metallics are there, but yeah, you got
but definitely the flat colours and the clears went across to
standard range.
Citadel, So the Sons of Horus green and Phoenician purple and all that kind of stuff now exists. So did you just use the Sons of Horus? Because there's two, isn't there? There's Sons of Horus green and there's another one there's a lighter one and a dark one.
I used the Sons of Horus one, and then for shading it's over a pre-shade anyway, but or pre-highlight. I've used intensity green scale to sort of add a bit of shadow and a little bit of depth. There's a tiny bit of white mixed in for the top highlights, but not much. So a bit of intensity with the Sons of Horus green for the shadow, or just ink on its own. Yeah, exactly. A very, very tiny bit of white for top highlight, but not much at all. And it's only for sort of it's the pre-shade that's given it its shade.
Oh yeah.
I quite often work up from bottom. I think I've said before. I quite often work up from bottom, even with the pre-shade there. I use the black that's there and very, very thin coats, and then don't always add an awful lot on top. But it's comes out quite well like that. I don't like that green flat. I'm not a big fan of the colour on its own. So if I look at the colour in the pot, it's not the kind of colour that excites me. I'm not like the old favourite Necro Gold from Scale 75. I don't look at it and go, oh, I really want to paint something with that. It's not very nice colour. But the effects you can get with it are quite good, especially when you use it with offset with black sort of areas on the models, and then painting in the Eye of Horus sort of resin doors and things, actually painting them in as orange and red and stuff. It really pops then.
I've never been a massive fan of those resin doors. I've always liked to put transfers on, but those Sons of Horus ones, I really like the look of them on there.
It's fun painting the eye in, actually. It made just really, when I did it, the client requested to paint it in as if the same colours they would be on the decal, so actually paint them in the right colour. Rather than just sort of a gold embossed or something like that, and I painted them in, and it just looks great against the green, and it doesn't. Because the green's quite sort of dull and desaturated, you don't get that kind of Christmassy look, which is always a worry when you start adding red near green. But obviously, colour wheel wise, it works perfectly. But we do get that kind of, should this be a Christmas streamer? Yeah,
you've got to not use that bright green and that bright red, those very vibrant colours, which are the Christmas colours, aren't they? Very rich reds and rich greens, but. It's interesting you say about you build up from black through white and you don't tend to reinforce shadows at all. I'm just thinking because I did just done that. Well, I'll talk about it in a minute. I'm doing the Ultramarines Contemporary, which is very much that technique. I start from a dark blue and build up, and then I glaze at the end. But interesting. So I've just done those Umber Berserkers, and so the red I put the lightest red on top first, and I reinforce the shadows. Yeah, that's a slightly different approach to it, and I've never really thought about the difference in the way I'm approaching those colours. It's just been the way. The red works really nicely. If I put the bloody red on and then go back in with the gory red but all I'm really doing is toning the black.
Yeah,
red. Does that make sense? Just toning that black.
yeah, exactly, and that's what I'll do with the initial colour. Where I will sometimes do it, so if I feel like I've gone too light in too much of a large area, and that's why I'm using the ink. So it's often just helping with their transition, where I think I've gone a bit too far, so there's a bit too much of the mid-tone. And so I tend to use the inks for that, because you've got loads of control with inks with the airbrush. You can go on light and quite sort of thin, and you can sort of add bits, and it doesn't go on too quickly. Especially if you just add a little bit of water to it, and just to make sure you don't kind of go too strong with it. So yeah, I use the inks for those. I also find, because when I do an oil wash, I don't always pin wash. Depends on what I quite often do all over, and then rub it off, and that gives you an awful lot of natural shade in the shadow anyway. So that kind of grounding grime. So if I'm going for something that's sort of full military model style weathering, then that will add a bit of natural shade as well. So it just sort of, again, that adds a filter to the whole thing and just ties it all together.
Yeah, no, it's nice. So it's just interesting with the two different techniques, you know. And I know you're a massive fan of. Well, you tend to your normal routine. I say normal. We tend to vary whenever we're doing anything, but you tend to build up from dark to light, and I tend to find I mix around a lot more. If I do yellows, I tend to put the yellow down first, and then go back in with a brown and a shade. Still, obviously, you are using the pre-shade to create the tone in the yellow, but then reinforcing that. I tend to find out when I go in and reinforce the shadows, because I want to change the bottom color into, maybe away from the color, into a different tone from the arm. So the red, I don't want I don't want it to be black to red. I want it to be dark red to red, or brown to yellow. So
makes sense totally. I do use it to adjust color. It works really well on things like yellows, and you can add in almost greens and things as well, just to sort of show some. If I did that stomper and I did that big orc tank, I think I've done that since we last chat as well. The big orc. I've done a big orc tank as well. I can't even know what.
You did the stomper, didn't you? Then you've done a tank as well.
I don't even know what it's called. I'm not up with me 40k orcs, I'm afraid. But the big Forge World one. And again, he's sort of using some inks and things on there, and just airbrushing them in certain places, but not all over. So you're just adding a bit of tonal change. And the inks are good for that, and that is reinforcing, I suppose. What else have I done? I've been recently. I realised I've got like 2.5 weeks to do all the stuff I need to for Throne of Skulls.
You've only been talking about it for how long?
I just don't have time. I've just been, work's been busy, and then family life's been busy. It's my eldest was just 5, so my mum's staying at the moment as well, and it's just been. We took him to Cadbury World. So for those outside of the UK, that's basically the main factory where they make Cadbury chocolate.
A theme park around chocolate.
And they've added like a museum-y theme parky thing in there. It's like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory without vertically challenged people, and they don't abuse naughty children. Did you threaten
Jacob though at least once to throw him in a chocolate river?
If there was a chocolate river, maybe. It was fine as we did that. Then we had a birthday party for him, and then it was his birthday, and then it feels like kids' birthdays go on for like 3 or 4 days. It's ridiculous.
Oh god, yeah, I remember. Especially mine turned 15 today.
Wow.
15. I know, it's terrifying, isn't it? I remember when it was when she was around Jacob's age stuff. I would go between various family groups over a course of a couple of days, and it was like birthdays seemed to go on for like 3-4 days. I mean, Christmas was the same. By the time I'd gone and seen my mum, and then gone and seen my dad, then gone and seen grandparents, blah, blah, blah. So she had like 5 days, and then she had time with her mum and her mum's family. It was like she had like a week-long birthday, and Christmas presents for Christmas used to last like a week, and it was like fucking hell.
Yeah.
It keeps going and going, doesn't it?
It's the different people you see, isn't it? And then if you've got complicated family relationships where maybe one mother-in-law can't be around the same time as the father-in-law, then they can't. So that kind of stuff adds extra birthday teas just for that the one person that can't be around. Not saying that happened, but that might have happened. But I've just been busy anyway, and my Harry, my youngest is just starting to teeth properly as well, so he's not been
lovely.
He's been up in the evenings a bit, so all my kind of chuck myself away time in the office
Yeah.
it's been taken up. But I've
Well, did you send a picture of the other day? You stood in the kitchen with a bottle of wine and a baby, and it was like 3 in the morning.
it was 1 o'clock in the morning. He was sitting in his chair playing, and yeah, I just thought it'd be amusing.
Yeah, he was raging around the kitchen having a great time, and you had a bottle of wine.
Well, it was a glass of wine.
I looked at the picture. And I thought, why did you send that with no comment? Like, I don't know. And then I looked at the timestamp as well because it's 1 a.m.
Well, I videoed the time on my microwave, didn't I?
Oh, you did, didn't you? Yeah.
I thought that. But yeah, it's been a bit like that last couple of weeks. So just that kind of a month ago, I was getting in the office every evening. I could get a couple of hours in a night, and it was fine. Emma was studying for something, and she's on maternity, so she was happy on her own. I wasn't deserting her, and then suddenly that's all fallen away. So all these kind of 2 or 3 hours an evening that I was having doing all my other armies and things has got a bit busy. So I've got about 14 models to paint, which isn't too many, but there is a character in there as well. I want to spend a bit more time on, but a display board as well. It's going to be okay. It's not going to be as big and as special as I'd have liked it to be.
Yeah.
And seeing some of the things the other people are working on in the sort of Middle Earth groups and things, it's not going to be anywhere near as good as those. But I don't want to just turn up with them on a normal tray. I want to try and make something because I don't know whether I'll get to go again next year because it's harder when the wife's back to work. These full weekends away at Warhammer World are a bit difficult at the moment until the kids are a little bit older. So so I've been working on it. I've done some work this evening. I've been working cutting and heating blue foam, and I've been spraying expandable foam. That stuff's fun. That's
is that the expanding stuff that comes out like squirty cream and gets bigger and bigger?
Yeah, that's been using that stuff. That's fun. I've got some tea candles arrived today that work on a remote. So, some of those in there. But when I've done a bit more, might put some work in progress up on in our group or in my group for my the other thing I've been doing. Shameless plug coming up. So the people in our Facebook group will have seen I spammed my new project, which is another podcast, a Middle Earth podcast called Out of the Frying Pan. So that's been taking up quite a bit of time as well since we last recorded. But for those of you who aren't in that social media or don't see the group very often, and you like Middle Earth based stuff, have a look in our group again and look for all the posts. I won't keep reposting it, but I've started a Middle Earth strategy battle game podcast that's safe for work, unlike this one. So we were trying not to swear. It's worked all right for 2 episodes so far. It's called Out of the Frying Pan. So if you search that, you can have a listen to it if you should want to. But other than that,
it's terrible. Don't bother. It's useless. You know, they're factually correct. They're well thought out. It's well planned for. What the fuck you want to listen to that for? Don't you want to just listen to the total garbage that and quite frankly, there's no me in it. So you know what.
Well, I've got.
No, I joke. I was on the train the other day for work and listened to the pilot. I think I listened to the first episode on the
episode 0 is a bit of a pilot, a bit of a kind of introduction to what the podcast is and the hosts. And I should say the other hosts are Dan Collister and Sam Beecher Jones. So the UK Heresy Peaks will know them anyway. So if you don't want to listen to it for me,
my own demise. I set up this chat group for the bloody event I ran last year, and it spawned off a podcast. So I'm not invited to, but.
Well, you were invited. You decided that it was probably best not to.
I very much enjoy SPG, and I'm an Lord of the Rings fan. I've listened to the books, read the books, but I'm not.
Right, the theme tune.
Not at the level you, Dan, and Stu and Sam are, and it's very much a side. I didn't build and paint the army because I wanted to play games with you.
Yeah.
I wanted to build and paint an army, but if you hadn't have been involved, I probably wouldn't have bothered.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'm quite happy to have done it, but it's there so I can have a couple of games with you and enjoy that with you. And I'm going to do the doubles. Me and Tom are Team Psychological Warfare for the doubles.
Yeah.
Neither of us has played a game and doesn't really know what anything does, but we're gonna turn up and. I mean, just the sheer amount of shit talking between the two of us will probably just make people give in and walk away from us. But that's
probably the other thing I'll be doing. Actually, I've been doing a lot more work behind the scenes, getting that planned. I won't announce things yet, but
And what I actually meant to say, because I started that sentence, is I very much enjoyed the 2 episodes. I realised I very much enjoyed the 2 shows. It was like, and as a non-hardcore SBG player, I very much enjoyed it as well. You know, I didn't need to be totally obsessed to, I think I've listened to a couple of Green Dragon episodes, and they're great. They're great podcasts, but I think I'm not at the level you're at with this. I don't.
Yeah. Hi, Jeremy, by the way, because he still listens.
Yeah, hi, Jeremy. There's no criticism, but he's talking at a level of people who are involved in the game, and I'm at a point where I'm like, I get the basics, and I don't listen to it fully, and I'm not trying to learn it. So I've been listening to Song Chat, which is the Song of Ice and Fire game designers podcast, and I'm trying to learn that game rapidly. So I'm very much invested in listening into that. So I went back and I've listened my way through all the shows. Not as many; it's only about 20 podcasts. I've been churning my way through them, but I'm very much more into that. Whereas listening to Green Dragon, I think I'm not making the investment to learn what you're talking about, so I'm not engaging with it. Whereas I didn't feel the need to engage as much. I didn't need that level of knowledge to engage fully with the podcast, with your one. So even if you're not what I'm trying to say in a very roundabout way, if you're not a hardcore SPG player, but you have an interest in it and you enjoy, people chatting, it's a very good podcast to listen to.
Absolutely. Green Dragon pitch it and deliberately pitch it at people who like the tournament gaming and and the hosts are very, very successful and know the game very, very well. Whereas
absolutely,
we are newer for Out of the Frying Pan, and we're pitching it very much as a kind of a magazine type show, so that we will do the kind of stuff a bit like we do here when we're doing a bit of an intro and we do a catch up on what we've been up to in terms of SPG related stuff, and then there'll be a main segment each time, and those main segments might be hobby one week, it might be a book review, it might be lore, it might be something like that. So there's kind of elements of some of the things that some of the listeners here might be used to. We will cover tournament and meta as well, but it won't be week in week out like that. It's much more of a kind of a, I don't know, like the kind of stuff, the kind of base level chats you might hear on Warhammer TV sometimes when they talk about tactics, but they might not be going into the level of detail always that other things do. So we'll see how it grows, but that's the plan at the moment. So even if you are new to SPG gaming, it should be absolutely perfect for you.
It's the one show for hobbits.
It is the one show, and it's clean as that as well.
It's clean, yeah, because you haven't got to. Because what it made me realise is that this show would be clean if it wasn't for me.
Well, I've probably actually cleaner today than I normally am. Maybe I've got myself my muscle memory of not swearing has carried over from the recording I've been doing for Out of the Frying Pan. Anyway, but that really is what I've been up to. It's actually quite a lot. I didn't think I'd been doing much, but it's quite a lot. Just not playing any games, which is a shame, but other than that, good. So, yourself, Mister, you've done loads.
Do you know what? I didn't feel like I had. I've done a lot of buying, basically. But yeah, when I did the usual 10 minutes before we started recording, sit down and write my notes out, it was a reasonable list. So it's been I think a lot of things have happened in the last week, or things have finished in the last week, haven't they? I've been sort of pootling along and doing bits, and then a few things have kind of tied up at once. So what did I do? I finished off the Umber Berserkers, so that's three of the 4 units of 12 models for my Stark army done for Song of Ice and Fire now. Posted them up on various social medias. They were really good fun. Probably the best flesh I've ever painted. Probably I'm most pleased with on a unit. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. Just pootled along with those. A lot of taking not cutting corners, using smart decisions to make the models better. To achieve a lot more for a lot less. So being clever with where I'm varnishing things to create contrast between the finishes and paint. So I airbrushed all the red for the fabric of the clothes. Totally matte varnished it, and then haven't varnished after that, because again, you're not touching these models at all really, because you're on a movement tray. So even on a small sort of 28, well, they're a little bit bigger than 28 mil. They're about 35 mil models, aren't they? They're slightly bigger than a
chunky, yeah.
You're still not going to worry too much. So when I'm going in and then doing the metallics with the Vallejo and the GW that I use for metallics a lot, they've got a naturally more gloss finish, so they create the the contrast between the matte varnish I put on for the fabric and the gloss just instantly creates a contrast to the eye. You might not look at it and go, oh, the metals are shiny and the fabrics are dull, but your mind does look at it, and
absolutely,
just being clever with things like that.
I hate varnishing models anyway. If you don't have to, unless it's part of the painting process for decal or oils and things, I don't like doing it. I'll do it on metals because they does wear off and you have to. But
yeah,
I haven't varnished any of my
interesting. I don't varnish any of my metals on the. I tend to do fabrics and armor, and what I tend to do is the biggest bit of airbrushing. I airbrush.
Mm-hmm.
I varnish the finish I want on that, and then I'll just use the paints naturally. So one of the things I'm doing with Mark, when I'm painting with Mark Mascalans the other year, he was talking. I mean, he's not a massive fan of scale paints. He loves his Vallejo, but he's like, if you want to get the scale finish with a Vallejo paint, because I said to him, well, I really like the matte finish. He said, well, get a Vallejo color and just put a bit of scale in it, and it'll change the properties to give you that more matte finish.
Yeah.
So I do play with mixing the paints.
Makes sense, totally.
Not just for colour.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one thing, I was watching Angel Horelde's video. He did a painting true metallic colours. If you get on his YouTube, he's got some very good YouTube, and he's now started recording in English as well as Spanish. So he was doing Spanish and putting subtitles, either subtitles or dubbing it into English, and it was a bit odd. But he's now recording in English as well. I mean, no dig at all. He's Spanish. Why the hell, I should learn Spanish. He can speak Spanish and English. I'm the moron who can only speak English. It's not a dig at all. But it flows with the video better. It wasn't that you couldn't understand what he was saying, but the timing was out in places sometimes. So that flows. But he was saying, put your metallic down and just put a drop of black in it. He was putting a bit of black in silver to help bind the pigment and the metal flake and the agents together to give a much smoother finish. So little bits like that, where what I did with those Umber Berserkers, and I've really got a really nice finish on them. And what I've learned is I basically do most of my metallics with sponges now as well. It's become that's a revelation Henry taught me. So I tend to base coat the darkest colour.
Yeah.
And then I'll sponge on. So I've just been doing an Ultramarines Contemptor, and all the gold is painted decayed metal, and then it's just sponged golds over the top of it because it creates texture as well.
Yeah.
And that creating that uneven texture and stuff it helps create more contrast and things in the mind that while you don't necessarily pick up on it, like where you've got a nice fade with an airbrush, on a main color, you'll go, I can see the transition there and I can see the contrast. These little things, individually they don't look like much. When you add them up over the course of an entire model, it builds to a range of contrasts that really help. Just catch the eye. Just it brings your eye into the unit, and then you start looking at it.
Yeah.
So I've been playing with that, so that was good fun. So those Berserkers, I'm really pleased with them. I have to use some fucking heavy duty magnets in them as well. They still haven't magnetized quite right. They got 6x6mm magnets in the base so that they touch, so the actual base the magnet touches the base.
Right. Yeah.
Right, they're strong. I was like, 0.4 kilo of pull? Yeah, that'll be all right. And they're basically almost impossible to pull apart. But I've been putting 5x1mm magnets underneath the models, and then gluing 2Ps underneath the base, so it magnetizes onto that. Because that was the way a couple of people have recommended it, and it's worked, but it's not. It works to the point where I'll put them in the tray, in my Magna racks, and they shouldn't just ping everywhere. But I won't want to be turning that bag upside down.
Right.
So I've got to play with the magnetizing a bit to see if I can come up with a slightly better solution. I think I just need maybe 5x2 mm, but I can't quite work out the depth of the base on the Song of Ice and Fire models quite well. But I'll get there with them. They're all right. Yeah, did them. They were good fun. What else did I know? So I'm part way through doing an Ultramarines Contemptor that I've talked about a couple of times. So how was that? I was out for the night and having a few drinks, and it was a Friday, wasn't it? And there'd been no Forge World release.
Yeah,
And
the email
I
didn't seem to come through till quite late on, wasn't it?
Yeah, we kind of wrote it off as like, oh well, nothing this week, because we've had the odd week where nothing's come out, haven't we, over the year? I'd probably say count on one hand where nothing's come out. And so it was like, oh, fair enough. And yeah, I got home from the pub at about 11 o'clock at night, and I've been tagged in a post in the group, and Tom Hayward had, I'll just leave this here, Tom. I was like, oh, there's an Ultramarines Contemptor. And I was quite drunk, and I bought the Ultramarines Contemptor and a couple of Titanic bits from Forge World. Woke up in the morning and went, oh shit, because I forgot my Forge World account's linked to my credit card. By default, I was like, fuck, I'll pay out a credit card bill now. I mean, it wasn't too bad, but, it was all right. So yeah, got that arrived. I'd actually bought some Volkite bought 2 sets of Contemptor Volkite arms a couple of months ago off Everything Trading. It was when the Demons list came out, because I got a feeling that Strength 6 AP4 would be quite handy against Demons, especially with doing some D flag wounds. So I was like, yeah, I'll get those and I'll build it. But I hadn't bought the Contemptor because I couldn't find a Contemptor right, because I've got the Relic Contemptor that I used for my Cortis. Do you remember I did that a couple of years ago?
Yes, yep.
Which is the dual fisty. So I was like, I don't want to use the same model for another Contemptor. I don't know why. I was just like, so I was under Nard, and I was like, I could get an Emperor Children one, and I was like, oh yeah, but I don't know. And then of course the Ultramarines one came out, so I was like, yeah, I'm buying that, aren't I? So I was going to buy it regardless. So I ordered that, and then that's going to get dual Volkite arms on it as well, and run around popping some fools, blowing some humans up. So that was quite fun. So I've been on with that. That's at the point now where the metallics are done, the airbrushing's done, the decals are on. I've started I need to do the details now, which isn't too much to be fair. So I think it's some painting, some laurel reeves, some eye lenses, get it all glued together and then weather the fuck out of it. It's that I always get to that bit with my Ultramarines where they're kind of done and it's all clean, and I'm like, I really like it like that. It's really clean. It's really nice because it's Ultramarines. It's really shiny, and then I have this real wobble when I'm weathering it, because I'm like, I'm ruining it. And then when it's weathered, I'm like, no, I really like it weathered now. But I have that kind of wobble through the middle. I was like, oh no. And I was
Very normal,
right,
don't worry.
Yeah, because I think if your Legions one isn't like Death Guard, when you paint Death Guard, they're not finished till they're weathered.
That's right.
Whereas the Ultramarines, you're like, yeah, but I could leave it shiny and clean, couldn't I? And it looks all pretty. And then I'm like, no, batter it. Yes, I'm doing that as well. That's pretty good. So that's actually all I've really painted this month. I had a bit of a purchasing streak, so I picked up the new Necromunda Dark Uprising box, which quite frankly is massive. Any company that is shipping it must have had such a pain in the ass shipping it, because it is massive and it's heavy. In terms of the cost of it to ship, it's ridiculous. It's a big box, but I sent a picture to the group a minute ago, didn't I? With all this, I dug in to get the rule book out for the later section, and the amount of sprues you get is quite shocking. It's huge. There's a lot of terrain in it. There's a lot of stuff in that. I picked up a set of the tiles. So I've got enough for a 2x2 now. I'm gonna pick up another set of the tiles to make a 3x3, 3x4, 3x3.
Well, let's say, will it work like that? Or do you get 1x1 in the box? Do you?
Yeah, they're 1x1 tiles, and you get 4 of them. So 2x2, so that'll make it 3x3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't know if I'll do a 4x4, because I've got a mat and I've got my ZM terrain anyway to do a 4x4 for a pure ZM. But what I really like with the Dark Uprising stuff is that it all meshes with the Sector Mechanica stuff. You include one of the sprues you get is the plasma pipes.
Yep.
Kit. It's literally just that sprue or one of those sprues in there. I think you get 3 in the box or 2 in the box, but you get 1 in the Uprising box, and it all meshes together. So that 6x4 that I did for Heresy, which is all of that stuff, will mesh onto that table as well. So I should have a really cool table with millions of options, because I've got all the Necromunda terrain, all the Sector Mechanica stuff, and the Sector Mechanicus, what do I call it? Like the bit you put the walkways on, the arch thing, the archway, the supports.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? The big ones that stand up, and then you put the walkways on top.
Yeah, I'm with you.
They're 2 wall heights high. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's the second story. So even that meshes quite nicely. You can get the walkways up to them. So I've got some quite nice, like long ones, walkway ones. So then they've got ladders on the side of them as well. So you're going to have a ZM where you're going to be able to like climb up onto a walkway and maybe scoot across the walls and shoot down on people. And it's going to be like a 3D ZM.
Right. Yeah.
It's got like,
gonna look awesome, isn't it?
it's going to look so cool. It's going to be so much fun. And I love the fact that like they've got like steps to go over the pipelines and stuff as well. And it's just going to be, it's going to be a real. I think it'll be 3x3 will be enough, because even in Heresy, I think you're going to want it super tight, super confined, and super small. It's almost going to be a variant of ZM where it's like it's only infantry, because it's going to be so tight you're not going to be able to get walkers around in it. And I think it'd be real, like almost like Kill Team. It'd be amazing for Kill Team Heresy.
Yeah.
You imagine you've got like five or six Marines and stuff running around in, like, it would probably be like in the bowels of the palace or something. The really tight and confined sections.
You could do some
like
really
almost
good
like
narrative scenarios, couldn't you, for that?
yeah. So I've got loads of that coming. I picked up the graffiti transfers as well, because I just think they're going to look fucking amazing now. I've ordered them from Chip, and then I found out how much they were. And they were £17 for a decal sheet.
Whoa, that's standard price, isn't it?
No, 12 for a decal sheet from Forge World.
Is it?
I'm sure it's 12.
I'm not so sure, actually.
I don't know. I winced at it as being more expensive. I'm sure they were £12 a decal sheet, or maybe that's what they go for on. I'm just trying to get onto Forge World, and every time I go onto Forge World, I have to do one of these "I am not a robot" things. And
they got your number.
Yeah, like you're supposed to do it once. I have to do it every time I go onto a Games Workshop website. I'm pretty sure they think I'm a Martian. So I just anyway, this is great radio, isn't it? While I wait for the Forge World page to load, because I'm sure they're 12. I'm probably going to be absolutely wrong. There's probably people screaming into their podcast app now that I'm a moron.
They might just be screaming that this isn't the best to listen to when they don't care.
Nothing we do is good to listen to. What you've been listening to it for 3 years, you've only got yourself to blame. And they're not under decals. Oh no, shit, they're £20.
Well, they've gone up.
Oh,
they've gone up. They weren't 20 before. I thought they were 17 before. But it's been a long time since I bought one.
I
get them sent to me all the time, but I haven't bought one myself for ages.
Well, I bought one for the Ultramarines when they first came out, and then it came and it was slightly bent, and I sent a picture. I was like, it's slightly bent. Like, I was like, I'm being a little cheeky, but I was like, well, I have spent 20, I'm sure it was £17 then or something like that. I was like, this is expensive, isn't it? For what it is, it's expensive. And they just sent me another one, so I've had two. So I haven't bought any decal sheets for a long time, because I was like, I've got two Ultramarines ones, and I still haven't finished those, even though I've done 10,000 points or whatever, 8,000 points of it. So yeah, I picked up those. They're quite cool, actually. There's some really good ones. There are lots of little hazard markings and stuff like that. I think that's going to be a generically useful transfer sheet for lots of things. So that's quite cool anyway. And I picked up, when I bought the Ultramarines Contemptor, I bought a Quake cannon and a macro Gatling blaster for Titanicus as well. Because, why not just buy more stuff? But actually, I wanted to buy those for a while, but I couldn't justify the postage on two £12 bits. So I was like, and then so the Contemptor came along, and the Contemptor put me over the free postage. So I was like, well, I might as well order it now, because I'm not going to order otherwise, get it in while I've got the shipping. So
yeah, it makes sense.
Shipping's
not that expensive anymore, is it?
No, it's not. But you know what I mean. I was just like, like picking it up. I was like, I don't know. They're £15. So it's like, do I really want to pick that up with a 15, £30? You know what I mean? I was probably just justifying that I shouldn't buy more shit. And I jumped on an order with Tom today actually, and ordered I've ordered a Reaver Titan Carapace Vulcan Megabolter and 2 Warp Missile racks for the Reavers as well. Because fuck it, it's only money. It's going to be dead soon. We're not going to have government soon. Money's going to be worthless. So might as well spend it while it's got some value. I might not be able to live, but I'll have toys. So yeah, that's as much political commentary as we're going to get on here, I think. So yeah, I did that, and then actually I have actually managed to get a game in. So life and general stuff has hammered me lately for actually having any free time, so I've only managed to get the one game in. And me and Henry finally got another Titanicus game in. We did commit to trying to play every other week, to keep, Henry wanted to get more Titanicus gaming in, and I was like, yeah, well, I want to play. So we've managed to, I think we've managed it about 3 or 4 times where we've played every 2 weeks, and then we've taken 3 months. But he's been off in Sweden with Colt, teaching them military modelling and doing all kinds of stuff like that. So we finally go, and actually it was really fun game, actually. Not that our games haven't been fun, but we both, so Henry's been using the charity raffle, Freddie's charity raffle mana pool when we've been playing.
Right, yeah.
So that's obviously now gone off to the winner of whoever won it in the charity raffle. So he's now building up his own Legio again. This is why there's no pictures of this game, because somebody played unpainted. He's going to hate me back. I don't want to play unpainted. I want to play. I haven't played for nearly 2 months. Let's play a game. I don't care. So, but he was running. He's doing a Ferox mana pool, which is all Warhounds and Reavers.
Okay.
So lots of light engines, and I was like, okay, well, I'll see what. And he was really low on points with what he did. So I was like, oh, let's have a look, because I've been running the Axiom mana pool, the kind of standard Warlord, Reaver, Warhound, kind of combo.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what could I do different here? So I was like, well, actually, I could run a Janissary mana pool, which is Reavers, Warhounds, and Knights.
Yeah.
And the benefit of that
so
is...
you could get loads of Porphyrons in.
No. The Porphyrons have gone up on the shelf and they've not been painted.
Yeah.
They haven't. I generally.
What are you winding him up, mate?
No. It's a good point.
We'll play small. We'll play small. We won't play any warlords. I've just put these mini. Do
you know what? It's the first time ever I've not painted some models because I don't want to play with them. Like
they'll fix it.
So they need something because they're
When's
so.
When's the FAQ due for that? Are they on the 6 monthly? A month ago.
Got months ago.
Oh right, are they moving to the new? So I think even SPG have moved over to the kind of two a year kind of one. Is it? February's a lot of them are due, I think.
They need something because interestingly, they put restrictions on them for the Throne of Skulls event, and Knights in general. They put the Throne of Skulls that they announced. I think it's you can only take one banner of Knights per mana pool you take as well.
Right.
So they do that, and they've limited Porphyrons down. I can't remember. I'm not going to Google it because it makes a crap radio. But they've put limits on Knights and things. Now the Knights, the Questoris, and the Lancers, I'm like, no, that's absolutely fine. They don't need. They're fine. If you take 6 Lancers, they're really powerful. But 6 Lancers is the price of 2 Warhounds.
Right. Yeah.
So if you take 6, so I think Matt was it Matt? Or was it, no, I think it was on the Horus. They would talk the Engine Kill show. Then now they've released the Storm Spear missile pods for the Questoris Knights. If you take 6 of them with missile pods on the roof and battle cannons, you're putting out something like 48 dice a round of shooting, which will just strip the fuck out of anybody's shields. They're not going to kill it, but they're going to decimate it. But which is pretty powerful. But that's like 400 or 500 points. You're talking, you're up to Warlord price. You're into Reaver and Warlord prices for those then. So, while most of the Knights that are out, while they're really strong, you can make them really strong. They're relative to the game. Whereas what the issue with the Porphyrons is they're so out of whack with the rest of the game. Like one Porphyron on its own is strong. Two together is really is better than a Warhound. And they're half the price. And that's what I think people are sort of like, this is shit. Because it's interesting. So on the Song of Ice and Fire podcast, the game designer Michael was talking and saying, I was listening to the show he did about the FAQ changes. He doesn't want things in the game that are just a no-brainer. You just do that. That's it. He wants everything to work, but everything should have a trade-off and a balance, and you should have to think, and it shouldn't always be good. There might. Some things will be more situationally good than others. Some things might be more generically useful, but there'll always be times when nothing's like an auto where you just do that. And I think that's the problem with the Porphyrons is if you were playing quote unquote competitively, trying to build the best list, you're just going to take Porphyrons because they're unquestionably the best models for the points. They can do so much in the game. I mean, if you want to listen to the talk on that, go and listen to Engine Kill or Full Stride. They've really gone through those in detail, but. Yeah, the Porphyrons are actually up and stuff. But yeah, so we had this little engagement. I think we were playing about 1,250 points, which is pretty much around the bottom end of the points they recommend for it. But because we were running all Reavers and Warhounds, I think Henry had 2 Reavers and 3 Warhounds. I had 2 Reavers, a Warhound, two Lancers, and 4 Knights, 4 Questoris, because I was running the Janissary mana pool, which gives you bonuses for tag teaming with Knights, working together with Knights. Turns out it's not the greatest mana pool in the world, but it was a fun mana pool to play. So we were playing a game with lots of smaller engines, and it was really brutal. It was a really fun game, and one of the things I took away from it felt really good. When you've got your Warlord on your table, even in Titanicus, it can take a bit of abuse, so you can be a bit reckless with it. You know, you can push it out, and you can think, if I'm not in the best position, it's okay. I've probably got the shields and the hull to survive it. You know, if I get caught in a shot, I'm probably going to be okay. When you've got Reavers and Warhounds, I mean, they are so fragile in those game turns. Like, you could push one bad push on your reactor on a Warhound, and you're into reactor overheat territory, and you're taking damage from that next turn. You know, so every decision mattered. Every single shot and decision and movement of every single model on the table really mattered, and it took us 2.5, 3 hours to play a really small game because it was so. But it wasn't like, oh, this is boring and slow. It was just, you knew that you couldn't just go, well, I'll just do that this turn and it will be okay. It was like, no, if I do that, that's going to have consequences for the rest of the game, and that's going to affect other things. And I've got to think about it. And it was so tactical. It was really, really good. It was like really engaging game of Titanicus. It was really, really fun. Now, I don't know if I want to play like 2,000 points with all smaller engines, because you'd have so many engines on the table to try and... It would just take... I mean, if you got all day, it would probably be great.
Yeah.
But I think going bigger than... So I originally planned a 1,500 point list, which had another Warhound in, so it would have been 2 Warhounds, 2 Reavers, and the 2 sets of Knights.
Yeah.
And we scaled back a bit because Henry couldn't get some stuff in it. He made up... He owned some Knights or something that he didn't own. So we scaled it back. I think I'd go to 1,500 with all small. I think if we went bigger than that, I'd think about putting a Warlord in. And I would probably do that because I would probably expect to meet a Warlord at that level as well. But yeah, it was a really, really good fun game. One of the best games I've had for a long time. I really enjoyed that. That was good fun. But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
So quite a lot then, really, isn't it?
Yeah, bits and pieces, bit of painting, bit of gaming, bit of buying shit. So yeah, it's been good.
busy people, even though it didn't feel like it until you started writing it down. It's weird how sometimes it kind of...
Yeah, it's amazing how much of life is dominated by the hobby, even when you think, I haven't done anything, you know. But yeah, so should we talk about a few other bits outside of what we've been doing? A few bits of news from the various games?
Yeah, I thought there were a couple of things. I've noted down a couple of things that I think that would be worth mentioning. Good discussion.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is, all we can really say about it is we know the name of it, because no idea what else it is, have we?
No, so it was Warhammer, the Old World, Old World. I can't even remember what they put on the banner. I think they teased everyone, didn't they, a couple of weeks back?
That's literally all we know.
By they teased with a square base, didn't they? At first,
yeah.
The night, and then an announcement the next day, and it was a bit confusing because what did it say? Everything comes back round, didn't they say?
Even squares.
But it's sure, I don't know. Was that a deliberate misspelling of around, just to say round, even though it's not going to be round?
I think it was to play on
it was
the
all
round base thing.
Yeah, you think so. It's a bit bizarre, but even saying come back around would work. But it was, yeah, I think that evening quite a few of the groups were talking about what it was going to be. Some people were saying War Master's coming back, and some people Warhammer's coming back, but we don't really know.
We know nothing except for it's going to be on the premise of it will be to Age of Sigmar what Heresy is to 40k. I think they're going to play on the fact, the old world died and the Mortal Realms came out of that. So as 40k came out of the Heresy, we're now going to have. If I put my business head on, I think somebody sat down and gone, we have an IP, we have a huge back catalogue of lore that is well loved and has an appeal to new gamers and has a massive appeal to older gamers.
And that's what they're going after.
Why don't we use it? When you say that, people have come into Heresy new, come into that.
I think there's a difference between target market and understanding that you have a target market, but you will pick up some people from a demographic you might not be aimed at. And I think I imagine
the target market is definitely old fantasy players, but I think they also know that it will bring in some people into the world as well. So it's a smart decision. Well, we've got this, but why don't we use it now? I'm not even going to speculate on. We could talk for 2 hours.
Yeah, I've got a couple of thoughts, but I think I imagine that it's going to be a reskinned 8th edition rule set.
Yeah.
If we guess that they're going to, there you go. This is my guess. I think the smartest thing, unless they're suddenly hiring a massive team of people. I think the smartest thing would be to reskin 8th Ed rules in the same way as they reskin 7th for Heresy. So it would work. It was relatively popular in some ways. 6th and 7th were very popular, but as a tournament game, I'm not sure that Forge World are going to be releasing anything with a focus on a tournament game.
No,
so I imagine
you'll
have all the arguments about which edition was best, but in terms of what fits the kind of stuff that comes out of the Forge World specialist game side of the business, there's a lot of heavily kind of fun narrative driven kind of stuff there, isn't it? So I can't imagine them going for any early editions. It wouldn't make sense. They'd be saying that the later editions that we made weren't as good as well. So I imagine it'll be the reskin.
They might pick some elements from older editions to bring back, things that they may feel.
I don't know. Someone rewriting the rules. They're just going to reskin it, aren't they?
They might take some inspiration to tweak some rules. You know what they did with Heresy? They tweak. They could
do, yeah.
Suit. Yeah.
I think that most of the effort's going to be put into producing some kind of campaign books and then release them in a similar way to the Heresy books. That's where it would make sense. So we had Tamil, didn't we, before? Yeah. So when Warhammer Fantasy was around, there was a Forge World book. It had a narrative scenario in there, and it was supposed to be like an alternative version of the old world or something, alternative scenario or something, and it provided the rules for the Forge World Chaos Dwarfs list, and it had a few extra things. So it had some stuff for Empire and a couple of Chaos characters, and that's about the limit of it. I imagine that those molds will exist and we'll see those things re-released, but if you're looking at all of the old factions of the old world, that's going to be really interesting how they handle it. Are they going to put it out as free PDF stripped down with just kind of rules and the odd little picture, all the fluff removed, so people can crack out and use any of their armies? That would make sense, I suppose. I imagine they might could bring back plastics that have since been out of production because they're going to have this new warehouse space. Maybe they realise that maybe they can store more stuff again, so they could bring back out some old plastics. These are all could-be's. I've got a feeling that they will launch it with a much more limited range than people think. I think it will be focused on a Empire versus Chaos narrative scenario type based thing for now, and maybe some rules so other people can use their old square based armies, which would be a smart thing, like a free PDF. But I imagine that they will focus it on a couple of factions, which could be Empire and maybe, so they're basically bringing back the stuff they had before, and then they'll bring in new stuff as well, but they've got to have a starting point where it was such a massive game, such a massive amount of ranges. I don't know how they would do it otherwise.
That was my big thought, really, was how are they going to manage the models, because it was such a massive diverse range, of and stuff that's been, and there are kits that are now no longer exist because they've now got Age of Sigmar
with it. Because I'm sure they had these conversations, but you could have brought the fantasy rules back and adjusted it so that people could use their round bases but fit on movement trays.
We'll get circular movement trays, like a la Song of Ice and Fire. They got round bases and square trays.
So you're bringing out a game that takes on that kind of game, but also more importantly, Kings of War and squashes Ninth Age as well. So you get rid of that. So if you can do those things, because you want people that the danger is, I suppose, if you say all the factions are back, go and play old 8th Ed Fantasy, is that the people who liked it, but also like AOS, would be going, well, I've just rebased my whole army into rounds. I'm not going to rebase it back the other way. I think that's the only danger of it, of frustrating people. So if I
Yeah,
guess
I
they
mean,
had a
look at-
conversation about it, but it would have been really interesting if they said, right, here's your movement trace. So you can base them up and square them up basically, but maybe that just was too much logistically, was too much of a problem, because 25mm rounds are obviously bigger than 20mm squares, which most small stuff was on.
Yeah.
And your bigger base, your bigger squares are 25, so they don't quite match. It's not just rounds; they change in size as well. It's a minefield, but I wouldn't be. I would, if I was going to put any money on it,
Luckily,
I'd
we
guess
don't
that
have to
we
deal with
see Tamokan reskinned first with Empire and Chaos Dwarves and Chaos and something like that, and then maybe some kind of PDF thing so people can bring in their old armies if they still got them and use them. But
Yeah, the ones who haven't set
I'm
fire
glad
to
it's
them as
3 years
well.
out actually, because my head's in other things at the moment, and
Yeah.
I loved that game. It was a huge part of my initial hobbying. It was the first kind of mass battle game that I was really in. The first game I really played, aside from Hero Quest. It was the first thing I properly played when I came back to it after my break in hobbying as well. First podcast I listened to a Warhammer one. So there's a real kind of interest there in what they do. Do I really want to play the game? I was thinking about this the other day. Would I really want to play the way the game works? I don't know. I've got a lot of fond memories of it, but I'm not sure I want to play that old system anymore. But
That's what I'm thinking.
But I will look at it when it comes out, and I'm glad it's going to be 2 or 3 years down the line, because I do.
If we want to be totally cynical, is this what will happen when the heresy is finished?
Well, they might be looking. I think more for
Or when the
Black
heresy's not
Library
too
maybe
dominant.
than Forge World, but maybe Black Library will be looking for a way of getting that that more sort of that style of book. So that almost, I hate to say it, but I think it's changed a bit now. I used to say the higher quality of novel seem to be the heresy books over than some of the shorter 40k and AOS ones. I think the gaps closed a lot recently anyway, but maybe that they will look to do some kind of similar themed thing than heresy, and maybe try to make that the next big series. Maybe they'll go back and retell some stories in a kind of they had some end times books, but maybe they'll retell the end times.
I can't see them touching the end times for a long time. I think they'll want to concentrate more on pre-end times, I imagine, and explore that more.
What I would have loved, and this is before AOS, so it doesn't make sense now. So some of the listeners will be aware they did some sort of almost prequel fantasy books. Graham McNeil did the Empire, and it's basically Sigmar's origins. So Sigmar's a god now, but he started as basically a barbarian tribe member and then king kind of thing. So almost pre-Britannia and Empire, the humans on the old world were more kind of rough and ready, like almost Dark Age. If you could give it
the prehistory of the old world.
And those books are fantastic. I didn't read the other parts of the series, the Time of Legends I think it's called. I didn't read the Nagash one or the Elves ones. I only read the Empire ones, and they were brilliant. I loved them, and I always hoped that Forge World would do the prehistory to fantasy and bring out that. It would have been brilliant. So they could go with that, but it's not. But then it's not.
Then there's a whole new model range and stuff, isn't it?
Exactly, that would be amazing. But then what? But are people hankering for the old world that is the old world that everyone knew?
I think that's what a lot of people want.
That's what it'll
the
be.
Old world. Yeah.
But
I think we've probably done that to death with wild speculation. So we have had some heresy releases as well, haven't we? We've had
So we had out. Well, the
Ultramarines Contemptor came out of nowhere.
What else was at the same
Dorados,
time?
We've got some new bits for the Dorado. We've got the Dorado missiles and the Dorado Volkite battery. We've seen the missiles before. I know Will's had them sculpted for a while. The Volkites were new. They were fresh out, which is pretty cool. Nice to see an older model getting some new options.
No. There's still something missing from that little range of additions to the
Pervase. Well, there's no point in Pervase anymore because we have the new ZM rules and you can't put Dorados in them, so you can't use the ZM design.
I think that's definitely dead now because of that rule change, isn't it?
It still does have a battlefield role. It does work on the battlefield. You can do things. What the frustration is that the Pervase the fluff with the purvey specifically says it's designed for ZM encounters, and it's now not. I think there's just a case of a little bit of fluff not tying up with. I know what the intention. I think I understand what the intention from the rules point of view was to rule out Leviathans and Dorados and probably some of the larger demons as well from ZM to try and help with keeping some kind of balance and order.
Make
to
it
it.
a smaller based game, really, don't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the caveat's always been you've got to be able to get the bloody thing around it. But I mean, the Dorado I never minded in ZM. It was strong and it was good, but it lost some of its element because it was tend to have long range guns, so you obviously lose that bonus, but it was still strong. The Leviathan, the biggest drawback with the Leviathan in game terms has always been its weapons were short range. So actually, Tom was talking about this earlier about trying to make a Leviathan work in a frontline game without a drop pod, and it's like you can't really because it doesn't do anything for 3 turns and it gets shot to shit because somebody's going to annihilate it. That's why we see Leviathans in drop pods everywhere, because you need them to get them in close. So in the ZM, the Leviathan gets a big bonus because those 3 turns where it's got to get the board, it's sheltered because it can't be hit by things that can kill it at long range. So the Leviathan I always found was pretty damn strong, and there was a thing of 2 Leviathans in ZM was like, you're not. That was always house ruled out, I'd be tempted if I was running a ZM to house rule that Dorados are okay, because I don't think they're an issue, and that comes from play testing the game and actually seeing them and playing them. People might have different opinions.
It brings back the question of the same with frontline games is that there's never been really any, apart from with super heavies, I suppose, naturally with point restrictions, but some things I would like to see some things that say not to be used in games under this point size, that kind of thing, or not recommended to use in games under this point size. Because I haven't read the new ZM rules, but the original ZM rules talked about ZM just being part of the battlefield. It didn't have to be the entire battlefield. Obviously, everyone just played a 4x4 pretty much. That you play 4x4 corridors, but ZM didn't have to be like that. The original rules did say it could be half of the battle table, could be open.
The new rulebook says that. The new rule set does say that. There's 2 modes of it. One is half, ZM section.
So that's the same as before. Then that's the same as it was before.
Yeah.
But I think my awareness of ZM before I actually read the rules and played it was, it's 4x4 in corridors, and I wonder how many people out there actually just think of it that way as well. But until you actually read those rules and really take it in, no one ever plays it like that. No one. It's not saying it's a problem, but it's just if you have a game where it's almost half open battlefield, then what's stopping you having a tank on the outside of the building and the ZM on the inside? You do what you want, really, anyway, I suppose. But
I've always liked the idea of you have your siege walls, so you take your Leviathan siege dreadnought to smash through the doors, and then your ZM force would pile in, the infantry pile in behind it. But the Leviathan, a siege dreadnought stands outside and breaks walls. A siege engine, if you have a medieval siege engine, it was for breaking the walls open. You then didn't take your trebuchet into the castle, so that's kind of, when people say, well, it's a siege dreadnought, I'm like, it's time for battering down walls. It's not
I wonder if
what you then take into it, but that's maybe just me.
I wonder if they've missed an opportunity by re-releasing ZM where they actually aim to reduce the size of it further and cut down squad size more, make it aim for a 3x3, and almost say, look, you're a heresy gamer, you've seen your kill team. I know we talked about this a bit before. You've seen your kill teams released, and you said there's a victory's vengeance rules and things. They exist. I know they exist, but to have something that's almost kind of skirmish level, or you can maybe even print it as a book, but almost say, look, this new plastic stuff's now available through Necromunda. You can buy the plastics on their own. Play the game with 15 models and a dread or something and a character, and actually make it higher level of terrain, so not much open space, and talk about small narrative quick games that are played in 40 minutes or something like that. So you're actually saying here's your heresy background, here's your heresy theme, you have your heresy modelling, but you can still play that coffee table
heresy's
size game.
The one missing a skirmish game now, isn't it? You've got 40k with, and you've got kill team, and you've got Warcry now, and
And that could be the gateway in as well, because again, you could sell a starter, couldn't you, with a book and that plastics and some of the plastics that exist within the
a couple
the
of
heresy
Marine
era
and
anyway.
Dreadnought through.
You could sell a ZM skirmish type thing, and then sort of also say, well, if you like that and you want to make bigger armies and play them on the battlefield, look at all this resin stuff. That they know what they're doing. They have lots of nice releases, but I look at that and think it would have been a perfect opportunity to change what ZM is. If people want to still play big 4x4 games of ZM, they're 1,000, 1,500 points, then of course they could.
The rules still exist for that anyway. The rules existed for that anyway, because there aren't major changes to the army force composition, and the force composition at a 6x4 and a 4x4 with the Leviathans and things in probably did make sense, but at a 3x3 and a kill team more skirmishy one, take those 60mm bases out, and then you're looking at mainly infantry, some monstrous creatures. Maybe if you're running Mechanicum, you're pretty good there. I think 80mm takes out Thanatars as well, so you should never see a Thanatar in ZM. If someone's for a Thanatar in ZM, that's pretty tough. But and then the other big news was there will be no Horus Heresy Weekender this year.
Yeah. I suppose it's a surprise to me and not a surprise at the same time.
I gotta say, it wasn't a surprise. I would have been more surprised if it ran, because. So I was thinking of the way to word this, because it's not that Heresy isn't important to Forge World. It's that So when the Weekender existed, you had 40k, and you had Fantasy stroke AOS, and that was the two games that the Citadel Games Workshop were pumping. That was all they had, really.
Yeah.
And then you had Heresy on the side. Now, Heresy got no love at all from Games Workshop, really. It was a Forge World thing. It was to one side, and it was a little thing there. So they got their own little special Weekender. Here's some resources for you to go and do something special for your community. So that made sense at that point.
Which was much about Black Library as well, wasn't it? As it was for the games. It was a setting Weekender rather than a manufacturer game Weekender as a whole. Yeah,
absolutely. But now we have open days, a much better public relations team, community do stuff on Heresy. We have Heresy on Warhammer TV as much as any of the other specialist games. We have all that support.
Yeah.
Why does Heresy require that special attention now? It gets enough mainstream love, if you know what I mean. It's getting exposed.
I totally understand
the value of that weekend.
By the 300 people who've got used to going would want to go again.
Absolutely, yeah.
But in terms of a bigger picture thing, why would they? How much do they want to cater? It's not just the physical cost of it. I don't know how much profit they make on it versus using the belfry.
And logistics, isn't
but
it?
It's the time of all those salaries, all those people working on that day, or having to take days off in a week to cover it. I don't know. I'm assuming that's the way they do it, so they're not working on those projects. So there's
logistics, getting stuff over there, getting stuff made and finished and ready for that deadline as well.
Making sure you've got stuff to show, even though it's before its release date, rather than letting that happen kind of organically. You've already got to have stuff ready for Fest anyway, haven't you? So I'm not surprised in that sense.
Quarter one, at worst, early quarter two, a specialist games open day style
Forge World, but there wasn't a Forge World unless they suddenly squeeze one. Well, they won't be because they've announced all the dates.
I think the Forge World open day will disappear, and the Weekender's disappearing, and we'll now get
it was already a Forge World and Specialist Games a Weekender anyway. When the last one was called that, but there hasn't been one this year.
Well, no, that got shouted down anyway, didn't it? To being a Forge World, to being a Heresy Weekender, because people screamed they didn't.
Not the weekend. I'm talking about open day. There wasn't a Forge World. There wasn't a Forge World and Specialist Games Open Day this year.
I think we'll get
July last year was the last one. I think I might be, unless I completely missed one. I know it was the same weekend as we won the last Tarsis, and we wondered when we were booking the dates in for the Onion whether there would be one, and it just didn't happen.
We didn't have a clash. I think we'll see one this year. I think something will replace the Weekender. But it'll be more in line with what the rest of the company does. It'll be an open day style thing for Necromunda, SVG, a Titanicus, Heresy, Blood Bowl, because that is very easy for them to put on in terms of here is we can
Unless
fill Warhammer World with that because there's lots to talk about, and this is and we'll because they can still do the seminars. They can do the one big Heresy seminar where they go through all the models and the new releases, which is, let's face it, what everybody is really interested in. I know all the other seminars are good, but the main one people scrabble to get into is the new shit, isn't it? Well, that's what we're
yeah.
after. The one question I did think about it, what do you think that'll do to the release of Book 9? Because normally we would probably be anticipating Book 9.
I think it takes the pressure off.
But we still expecting a February release date?
I don't know.
Would they have been planning? Because they must. Would they?
I think people will start getting twitchy around that time.
Yeah.
I think of all they've said in their latest when they announced it was that Book 9 will be released next year. So I think it gives them a little bit more time to make sure that they don't have any issues.
Do you still think it'll be, let's say, quarter 1? Do you think it'll be a quarter 1 release?
No idea. Really have no idea. The fact that they'd already started work on it and shelve some of that work to do other stuff with the other one would make me think that it maybe should be ready.
Yeah,
but
I think with that post we had the other day on Community where they teased a few models, they showed some artwork. That to me felt like the kickoff of a PR campaign as well. That's the like now we're starting to we're talking about Book 9. We're making people think about it. There didn't seem any point sort of saying, hey, look, think about Book 9. Don't worry, and then forget about it for 6 months. I got feeling that tease for the Road to Thramus, that feels like the building of a PR campaign ready for a release. Because we do this for GW9, we had the Dark Uprising teaser box at one of the... They built, and then suddenly it's here. I think we're on the road to Book 9 now.
I think... So a couple of points. I'm not necessarily sure we will see some kind of specialist stroke Forge World open day. We could do, and it wouldn't surprise me if we did, but because we didn't have one this year, it wouldn't surprise me if that's gone now. So we know we've got the 40k open day and the AOS open day. And then what else have we had? So they seem to do a specialist one. So they had the Vigilus one, which is to do with a release of another 40k thing. We get the New Year one, don't we? So the New Year one's could be a bit of everything. So I wonder whether the New Year one will be the ideal opportunity to have a few of the specialist games, stroke Forge World, stroke Middle Earth teams there, maybe showing a little bit off. And then Fest, do they need any more than that? I'm thinking from a business point of view. Would they be bothered giving them time to show stuff off? They've obviously felt they hadn't needed it this year. And there's been enough stuff. If you think of a Forge World Specialist Games open day, there would have been plenty of stuff to show. There's been loads of Middle Earth stuff. There's been loads of Necromunda releases. There's new Blood Bowl. They could have easily filled it. They wouldn't have had a problem this summer or autumn. In terms of content, but they've chosen not to do it. So maybe that's the plan now, is that they're going to do the two big systems, or maybe, and then they're going to do the New Year one, and there might be a focused one, like a big campaign, or they're just going to use these. They're going to, instead of worrying about doing it, they're going to say, right, well, we've got these big conventions, and we're going to do our teasers at the conventions, because we didn't have that a couple of years ago, did we?
For AOS and 40k tends to be the Fest, though, doesn't it? Because we had 8th Ed announced the one Fest, and then we had AOS 2 Nighthaunt and stuff at
there'll always be big announcements there.
So I think the biggest announcement for those game systems will be that, won't it? That's their flagship. This is our big release for this year.
I don't think it'll necessarily need to be a big release. I just mean that could be plenty enough time and space for them to showcase the other game systems, because a lot of the people that play those systems may not play the others, or they're so into it that they will make the time to go up and speak to the Forge World specialist guys up there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't have a Forge World one anymore. They just changed it, because they might be just, well, we've got so much stuff, but it just makes sense to show it as and when we need to. We need to. So it might well be at Nova. It's close to a launch or something, so we're gonna show some stuff when it needs to, rather than at an event saying, well, we've got to have stuff ready. Let's pick an event nearby. Let's pick whether it's the UK Games Expo, whether it's Nova, whether it's or other big American ones, bloody Gen Con or anything like that. Pick those shows and use them to tease something that's only 3 months out, which is what they seem to want to do. So rather than worrying about sort of scheduling in open days, because I don't think they're as much as they're cool. You got Fest, and there are other open days. You might not need it.
I mean, the other thing, because
it doesn't need to be a schedule as such where you get the same thing year on year out at the same date. I think the moving away from that gives them flexibility and keeps us on our toes as well.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is the resources to manage all those, because if you've got people traveling to Gen Con and Adepticon, and then traveling to Germany and all over the world, to do these events,
that's more time out of the studio, isn't it? On top of doing an open day, and I think they realise they
have
to go to those
the staff
things
having to do those things, as well. People aren't going to want to. Extra.
And what they're going to get more from going to Nova, or Spiel, or UK Expo, or doing an open day selling to people that are already buying from them, because that's what happens, isn't it? So whereas you're actually engaging with new customers, and you're getting your message to existing customers because the streams have put up the announcements are on Warhammer TV. So if you've got to pick and choose between them, you go to the big independent things, because you're going to pick up new people. You're widening your appeal, and then the people that are already your customers are going to see that news anyway. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see those open days come back at the moment, because of the number of other times they're out there. We might find out at some point. That might be something that's talked about, and we find out why. Often these things kind of become known, don't they? But I'm not too worried, to be honest with you. I'm glad the one I never made a weekender. I'm glad the open days have been to. But open days and Warhammer Fest, you feels very much the same thing. You speak to the same people and see the same kind of stuff. So it means Fest's more important and more special, and hopefully I'll get to it next year. So
yeah, definitely. Cool. Right, one quick listener message, and then we'll roll out for a break.
Yes.
You spoke to Andrew, so you probably
So Andrew Hollis contacted us, and he said as well, "Hi guys, thanks for support of our last event model." So I think when was that? When did that model come out?
Yeah.
It's going back a long time.
Andrew.
So it's the Oz 30k guys anyway. They produced a special event model that you could purchase some point well over a year ago, I think now. But he said, we've just launched a Kickstarter for the 2020 model, and we're fully funded already. Very keen to try and get our stretch goals to unlock the Enslavers. And then he's asked us to give it a shout out. So that's what I'm doing now. I think, has he posted it in the group? I know he joined the other day to post it in the group.
Yeah, he joined. I don't know.
I know he commented on something this morning, I think. But I will. I'll add the link to the show notes anyway. But go and check the Kickstarter out. So it's Kickstarter project, and is Oz 30k 28mm sci-fi privateer. If you search that, you're going to find it anyway. But what I'll do is I'll pop that link in the show notes. And I think he said he was going to share it in our group anyway and on the page, but I don't recall him doing it. But I can't imagine why he wouldn't have. So maybe I missed it. Maybe it did go up. So much going up on the moment, especially with some extra groups and things. But I'm sure he did it. Who knows? I'll pop it in the show notes anyway, so people can have a look at it.
Yeah, definitely. It's fully funded on Kickstarter, so shit's gonna happen. It's really good. Go check it out.
Has your performance been letting you down recently? Have your bombs been jettisoned before your mission was complete? Do you find yourself accidentally rolling too early? Has your bag dropped its load before the game? Then Grayed Out Productions have the answer. Michael's handcrafted dice bags are a must-have for any tabletop gamer prone to spilling their pearlescent gaming A's before they're ready. Why not check out Grayed Out Dice Bags on Facebook, at their website at www.gradeoutproductions.com, or find them on Etsy. Grayed Out Productions are the only place where you can get the official G52 podcast dice bag, and Gino listeners can get 10% discount by entering Gino52, all in words, at the checkout in the Etsy store. Get control of your load today.
Welcome to the Underhive. Do you fancy running around with humans doing despicable things to each other and smashing people into walls and things? Welcome to Necromunda. Yeah, I'm guessing people are aware of Necromunda, you the first time around or since it's been re-released. When was it re-released? A year or so ago? 18 months ago?
It's got to be 18 months, hasn't it?
Yeah. So we had re-release of it. Now, Necromunda you were saying Fantasy Battle was your big game when you were young.
Yeah.
I played Fantasy, but I basically built a small Dark Elf army and got smashed to pieces by my brother constantly with his Wood Elves. So I never really got to enjoy that. I knew I enjoyed
was that 6th
gaming.
edition?
I have no
I think Wood
idea.
Elves were filth in 5th and 6th edition.
Well, it was they ran around like a unit like we know, where they're where they're not in a block, and
Yeah.
they just seemed to be able to do everything. And I was like, this is just destroying me.
War dancers.
Yeah, war dances, all kinds of stuff. It was just like, this is So I enjoyed the gaming, but I was like, yeah, cool game. But I started playing Necromunda with one of my brother's friends who played Fantasy. We played Necromunda, and this was cardboard. This was post Outlanders, so this was really when all the stuff was out for it. We're quite late into it, but boxes of Goliaths in the classic boxes, the yellow and black striped boxes with polystyrene in them. So, and that was the first game I really played. I was like, I'm super into this. I love the setting. I love the game. This is what I want to do. And I think even when I got back in and I was playing 40k and stuff, I was hankering for that skirmish game.
Yeah.
And I think if people have been playing Necromunda, I'd have jumped straight back in, but it wasn't around in the club. And I think we've probably been listening to the podcast, right? I'm quite quick to jump on a skirmish game. I quite enjoy a skirmish game. So when Necro came back up, I was like, yep, it was one of those ones. I was like, well, I'm buying that. I don't care. I'm in for that. So I picked up the Underhive box, painted up my Goliaths. I sold Chip my Escher. I don't know what he's done with those. But yeah, painted up my Goliath. I have been loving Necromunda. I've got the Goliath. I've got my Caldor gang as well, which is my infamous gang from our last campaign at club, with the leader who took 4 shots from a plasma gun to the face against Andrew's Escher and survived, and then promptly took 2 plasma pistol shots to the face and 4 missed Thunderhammer swings from Kurt's Orlocks and survived, and just got a reputation for being able to take plasma to the face. So, which is just what I love about those kind of games is like I've got a story for most of my gangers. You build a love for that gang, the individuals. So yeah, Necromunda. I say if you've been living under a rock, or you've no idea, or you're just getting necro curious, it is 40k setting. It is, it doesn't feel like you're playing in the 40k universe on the grand scale, but everything's 40k. It's bolt guns, bolt pistols, las guns, las rifles. Everything's in that setting.
Yeah.
But it is the humans at the bottom of the Underhive kicking the crap out of each other, and it feels. Have you read? Let's say, have you read? Of course, have you read the Eisenhorn books and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely love them.
And it's very much that kind of feel when they're in those they're in the everyday lives.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. So we obviously love Heresy, and I love the Heresy novels in terms of a grand scale conflict style thing. I've not got quite the same draw for the current 40k grand scale timeline, but I love the 40k universe in terms of Eisenhorn or Necromunda and that kind of more less wider world, more kind of planetary based kind of stories and individuals and things, and I like the flavour, the depth that's still there. Yeah,
absolutely. Necromunda is in that level. It's that you have your. I mean, my Caldor gang is sort of 15, 16 strong, and it's a huge gang. It's almost double the size of most gangs, but that's because it's a horde fucking gang. And I played a campaign where I kept rolling to get extra juice, and I ended up with so many fucking juice. And then I had to correct myself. I was like, oh no, hang on, I've got slightly wrong here. There's the limits of how many Jews you can have. But it was fine. I got tons of models, and I love them, and I love building and painting them and going nuts with them. And yeah, I've got like silly things. It's a sort of game where mad things happen. You know, like I played Curtain. I got a ganger who, so you get shot at, you go down, you get, even if someone fires at you, your guy drops to the ground, ducks and covers. And you can choose to lie on the floor and shoot your gun. Now, normally that means you're blind firing and you're hitting them. You got loads of modifiers to hit. But my Caldor have a blind faith card, which you can throw down at the start of the game, which means any blind fire attacks are made at full ballistic skill.
Right,
So
yeah.
the Emperor's guiding your bullets. So he shot my one dude down, and he just lay on the floor for like the rest of the game, just shooting over the top, and he kept killing his gangers and taking them out, blind firing over the top of his barricade. And of course he couldn't shoot back because he was up a level. He couldn't fucking see the bugger because he's behind the barrier. It's that you talk about models rather than my unit went and did this and it was cool. It's my model and that guy. And the first thing I'll do when I put my Necromunda gang together is, I need him and I need him and I need him, because those are my favourite people for my gang. Rather than this is the best model. It's just, this is my gang and that's the flavour of my gang. So yeah, so Necromunda is a 41st millennium skirmish game of humans smashing the hell out of each other and causing chaos and misrule. It's brilliant. So if you're necro curious, where do you start?
Well, this I suppose I'm going to jump in here for a minute. So I bought in when it was first released. I'm sure it was a September release, but that feels like it should have been more than just over a year ago. Maybe it was 2 years since it's been out. I think it was, wasn't it? Wasn't it before?
Well
it was 2 years because it's before Titanicus, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it was 2 years.
Yeah, Underhive.
So yeah, I bought into that. I didn't play it when I was younger. I did play Confrontation though, which is in those very early White Dwarfs. It was like 137, 138 or something like that. And I did play. I say played it. I built a gang. I think I played one game, but my best friend and gaming partner at the time was very into it, and we spent a lot of time looking at it as a kind of a spin-off from the 40k and their fantasy and all the other things we were playing. So I was aware of it in its sort of early form, and then I wasn't 100% out of gaming when it first started to come in, but I was very much on the periphery. I was hitting that kind of stage, just about to go off to uni and things.
You weren't buying new games.
I wasn't buying. I was playing some historicals as well, so I wasn't playing much of the new GW stuff. I was that lot of that big red era. I missed a lot of it. That kind of changeover when it sort of. So yeah, I was aware of it, but I didn't sort of see it in that edition of the game. So, but I was very excited to get involved in it and bought it, and I think I read the rules through once, or I can't remember if I did. I definitely read the original Fluff book. I read the Fluff book. I didn't read all the rules. I started reading the rules, but read the Fluff book that was in there, and all the fluff in the 2 books you got in the original set. No, I bought a separate book. Can't even remember.
You bought the first
whatever was out on release. Yeah.
Core rulebook and Gang War.
So I messaged you the other day, didn't I? Because this new release was obviously very out there. We all knew what was coming. And I messaged you and sort of said, so what's the deal? Is this replacing the original rules? What do you need? Because it's a very expensive looking starter set now. Do these change the rules? And there's all these other extra books now. Where do I go, kind of thing? So I just wanted to add that in there because I think it adds that I'm a perfect kind of. I'm a bit confused now. If I want to start playing the game now, I've still got my old start set. Is it still relevant? What do I go?
So interestingly, I in looking, starting there before we got on the show, I just wanted to look at something. So you actually, I think you have 2 box sets for Necromunda out at the moment, which is the original Underhive box, which is what you bought, and the Dark Uprising box. Because one of the things me and you discussed is that at 175 quid, this is it's a silly price for a starter set, isn't it? 175 quid is way too much for a starter
it's great
box.
Value for what you get in the box.
Oh yeah,
but it's not. People, for 12-year-old Billy says to Mum, "I want to play Necromunda." Well, what's that? What do you need? £175. You go, fuck that. You can have a PlayStation 4.
Exactly. So looking at the website now on Games Workshop, you go on to the Necromunda page in the box, which just says, get started with Necromunda is a link to the Underhive box.
Right.
And then the title for the link to Dark Uprising is Another Way to Play. So
Cool.
I don't think
That's
the Underhive
smart.
box is going to disappear. So the Underhive box at £75 is your starter box.
That's
Now,
good to hear.
the thing to note, and I don't know, is I don't know if the rule book in Underhive is still valid. So it works, but the rule book in Underhive has been FAQ'd and subsequently replaced by the rule book that came out a little while ago. The rule book that came out a little while ago is not version 2, it's the Underhive rule book with the FAQ built into it and tidied up a bit. So it's like a 1.5 edition basically. You know, it's a tidy up. We've included all the FAQ and tidied stuff up in the book to make it better. So if you buy Underhive and play it as a box game, the rulebook works fine. If you then subsequently go out and start playing at club, you might find that you're playing a slightly different rule set. I mean, when we say slightly different rule set, there are some skills that change and some of the wordings change to make things a bit clearer. There's nothing that's like, oh, well, that's totally wrong. It's just some things have been modified to make more sense. So the bulging bicep skill got changed because basically you took a Goliath gang, you gave him a heavy weapon, you gave him bulging biceps so that he could just keep shooting. They changed the bolt, and it was very predictable. And they've changed that now, so it doesn't quite work like that. So there might be some elements that are pretty important to it. But like I said, you can pick up the rule. Now, if you're just interested in, you want to get the Eshers or the Goliaths to get started, you want the dice, the counters, the terrain, the tile cards for ZM, you know, great. It's absolutely a great box, you know. I would probably suggest you buy that and you buy the rule book.
Yeah.
So that you can get you've got the right rule set. Now, I think we discussed when we first learned about the box, the Underhive box, Dark Uprising is aimed at either you desperately want that ZM terrain, or you're already a player and you're looking to expand. Someone like me who's already got, you know, Underhive and has been playing for a while, and you want to expand. It's more like an expansion box. It very much feels like, do you remember when they brought Kill Team back originally and they called it something like Shadow War Armageddon for 40k, and it was basically a rule book and a box to sell all the Sector Mechanicus terrain when they first dropped that. It kind of feels like Uprising's a little bit like that. It's a way of shifting the new gangs and the terrain and the new Book of Ruin in a bundle box, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Rather than it being an absolute, this is the way to start playing the game. So, you know, Dark Uprising, if you buy Dark Uprising as your first box, you're going to be absolutely fine. It's got a rule book in it, it's got 2 gangs, it's got loads of beautiful terrain, it's got dice, it's got all the count, it's got everything you need to play the game. So you're going to be in and you're going to be away. It's no problems. But it's the price point, I think, that we're saying that I think Underhive is you're tempting people in on, you know, like you said, little Johnny who's seen these cool models and he wants to play Necromunda. Well, Underhive is the box to start him with. Dark Uprising is a bit more of a commitment, if you know what I mean. It's a bigger box and stuff. But yeah, so that probably brings so onto Dark Uprising contents. So I got the sprues out earlier for the first time. I actually took the wrapping off the thing because it's been sat on the shelf for a few days, and first time I had to unwrap it. And
is it almost a daunting amount of plastic there?
Yeah. It's scary how much plastic is in there. The gang sprues are fine because it's 4 gang sprues, which is a standard gang. You get 2 sprues per gang, so absolutely fine. You get you get one of the plasma relay pipes. I don't think you get a full set of the plasma relay pipes as if you bought the plasma relay box.
So you got 1 sprue of it, sort of thing.
You got 1 sprue of it, I think, which is cool, which is great, absolutely banging. And then the amount of walls and doors and steps and stuff. I think actually when you build it up, it won't be too bad because it's quite a lot of big bits, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of sprue to not make a huge amount, but that will be pretty good. So you've basically got the train, and then you've got cardboard tiles to put your plastic walls and doors and things on, which match the tiles that you can buy separately. So it's just basically, I think it's because if you try to put those tiles in that box as well, the plastic tiles, it would be insane. You'd be over 200 quid for the box, and it would be mad. But I bought the tiles as well, as I mentioned earlier. But they're just, it's gonna be cool. I just want to have a nice table, and actually I bought them because they're 1x1 squares, and because the walls come off it, one box should be more. But even if I do a full 4x4, it shouldn't take too much to store it. So with the old Forge World ZM table, you obviously had the walls built into it. So while
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were they 1 foot squares or were they 2 foot squares? I think they were 1 foot
1 foot.
squares as well.
Pretty sure.
But they were also obviously 3-4 inches thick.
Yeah.
So storing them became an issue, whereas the tiles will be flat and the terrain can all come up because we can get, with the tape, the MDF terrain that we got for Incom for ZM. It actually, we got so much of that terrain, haven't we? It's absolutely tons of it. But it does pack down into relatively small boxes because you can take the walls off and it can all be
Yeah.
stacked and organised.
But even then,
and
because it's built so you could underlight it, isn't it?
yeah.
The
So
actual
it's thicker and
tiles
bigger.
are 3/4 of
2
an
inches
inch
thick?
thick, aren't
Yeah.
they? Yeah, probably 3/4 of an inch, aren't they? They're not
Yeah,
a full inch thick. But
maybe an inch, I'd say. They're substantially thick. So yeah, the plastic tiles that I've got for ZM with Dark Uprising are 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 mil thick.
yeah.
So they're going to even stack even smaller. So I think it's really, really good. So yeah, the Dark Uprising box comes with everything you need. Gangs. Interesting. I got the new rule book out because one of the discussions we had was, what is this rule book going to be? Because there are a number of books out there now.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm really impressed with the Dark Uprising rule book. It is 228 pages long, so it's a full rule book. It's got quite a nice, concise version of the rules.
Uh-huh.
When we play, I'm gonna use this book because I think it'll work for me in reminding me, and it seems to be better laid out.
Right.
Now, the main rule book that's for sale, I think, is a lot more detailed. It has, like, the Sector Mechanicus rules have a lot more detail about jumping and falling and a lot of stuff like that. So I haven't really been through it. I think they've got a lot more diagrams and stuff. So it'll be interesting when I get some time. I'm on the train tomorrow morning for work, so I'm going to take the rule book with me and have a really good go through it.
Yeah.
And have a comparison against it. I think it'll be perfectly functional. I just wonder how much detail is in there. But it's got the game. I've clearly got enough rules to play the game in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Get you playing the game in it.
That.
It's got the 2 gang rules in it, so the new corpse grinder cult and the enforcer gang, enforcer patrols. It's got the new uprising campaign, and if there's one thing I would say with Necromunda is don't judge it until you've played a campaign, and it's really hard to say that because not everyone can play a campaign. But my God, the game comes alive in a campaign.
Yeah, I can
It's
understand.
skirmish game as a one-off, like to teach you to play, it'll be great fun. But you wouldn't want to play that week in, week out. It really comes to life when you have the time to go away. Things happen and you build up your gang. And the new chaos uprising campaign. Your gang can fall to chaos and all that kind of stuff. Like there's stuff that clearly takes a few games to really get going.
Yeah.
So, and that's what brings the life into the game. That's where you get the stories from, and you get your story around your gang, and you build it. I mean, it's got the campaigns in Necromunda are amazing. What did we do? So the original Underhive box comes with a Turf War gang campaign, Turf War campaign, which generally in the community is looked down on as not a very good campaign. It was pretty badly written, and it was pretty brutal, to be fair. What we found when we played it to begin with is it was very easy to lose gangers, very easy to lose credits, and very hard to replace and get them back.
Yeah.
So it was very tough, and after a few games, if you'd had 1 or 2 bad games, it very much felt like you were out of it. They then brought the Dominion campaign out later, came in one of the gang war books, and that's the second campaign we ran. And a few more gangs were out. And we ran it at that's where I had my Caldor, and that was generally a much better campaign. It was if you had a bad game, it didn't totally brutalize you, and it was much more, you could play through the campaign a lot less punishing. So that was really good. So I'm looking forward. So we had the Book of Judgment had the Law and Misrule campaign in it, and this has got the Chaos Uprising campaign in it. So actually now, if you say to your mates, we're going to run a Necromunda campaign, you can pick from, I'd say, technically 4, I'd say you probably don't want to do a Turf War. You've got at least 3 campaigns you could play, which also means if you play a campaign, you could then take that gang and play another campaign with that gang, and it would be a different campaign because you'd have different things going on.
Oh,
and then you could do, so if you've got a gaming group that you're playing, you could, in a year, you could play the 3 campaigns, and really stretch a story out of your gang, over these campaigns, and not have played the same thing over and over again. So they're really good, which probably should now then really bring me into the books, because I know that's something you asked me, Stu, and Sam as well.
There just seems to be
what replaces what and what
many that it's kind of almost a bit of a minefield now to someone new coming in.
So you have got, from release we had the rule book, and we had 4 gang war books that came out, which basically brought all the gangs out.
Yeah.
You should do if you've got those now. You probably do what I did: stick them on eBay and hope you get 20 quid for them. I managed to get 100 quid for all of them. I was quite pleased with that.
Mm.
They are essentially irrelevant now. What we had now is the main rule book, the hardcover rule book, and the Gangs of the Underhive book. Right. Those are your 2 core books, really. So your rule book, obviously, that's your rules. Your Gangs of the Underhive book is your army list book. So this is your Legion of Astartes book, your Armies of Middle-earth book,
Yeah.
And that covers all, what I would say, the core gangs: Orlox, Escher, Goliath, Cawdor, Van Saar. Yeah, your classic gangs that have always been there in Necromunda. And that's their gang lists, and that's their army book, essentially, and the war gear and things like that. Since those books come out, we've had a couple of campaign supplement books. So we had the Book of Judgment, and the Book of Ruin, Book of Judgment and the Book of Peril are the 2 that come out. And they are essentially campaign supplements.
Uh-huh.
So the Book of Peril introduced some new, what they call dramatis personnel. So they're like characters, bounty hunters and things that you can add in. Added in some new scenarios and missions and things as well. And it brought in the guilds. So these are the guilds are really fun. Something I need to explore. So they're like, you can hire members you can form an alliance with the Water Guild, and it'll give you certain benefits, and then you can have a Water Guild band with your thing, and it's really cool. Again, one of those things where you can add depth and flavour, so you can get aligned with the Corpse Guild or the Iron Guild, and there's benefits and bonuses and detractions and things you have to do for them through a campaign. So you could say, actually, so when you're building your gang at the start of the campaign, you say, okay, I'm going to be an Orlok gang that's aligned with the Promethean Guild, so we're going off with that, and that's going to add. So you might play your mate in that campaign, and you might have certain things to do for your guild alliance and stuff as well. So that was really cool. So that added flavour, and again, it's optional stuff. You might say, actually, no, we're not going to do guild alliances in this because they're not going to, and the guild alliances are not game breaking, if that makes sense. If you're playing somebody who's got an alliance and somebody hasn't, they're not going to whoop your ass up and down the table. They're just going to have different things that are going to go on. So that was really fun. And then we had the Book of Judgment, which brought in the Enforcers. So again, it's another supplement. You didn't need. I didn't buy the Book of Judgment because I didn't want anything out of it. So I'm not out of the game. I just don't have that supplement. Now the Book of Judgment, slightly different to the Book of Peril, because it brought in a new, essentially, gang. You had your Enforcer control, and it also brought in the Law and Misrule campaign. So this is a new campaign you could play through, and this introduced law-abiding or outlaw gangs affiliation. So you can now become an outlaw gang, and basically become a rebel gang, because the houses essentially in the gangs are all law-abiding. All this stuff they do, shooting each other and stuff, is all looked and no, we don't do that. So we're law-abiding. It's all in the background. But you could become an outlaw gang where you kind of become openly against the law of Pelmar's rule, and you would get access to things like the black market trading post. So you could get new options, and you could get Xenos guns, and you could get all kinds of crazy shit for being outlaw. But obviously there were punishments, because if you got caught by enforcers or various things, you obviously then got punished for being outlaw. Or you could be a law-abiding gang, which gave you other benefits for things you could do, because you obviously could then access more law-abiding elements and stuff. So that gave you alliances for your gangs then as well. And there were obviously things you could, benefits and positives and things you had to achieve. So you could then become law-abiding or outlaw. So that added it again. If you didn't want to play the Law and Misrule campaign, didn't need that book. As long as you had your 2 core books, your Gangs of the Underhive and your rule book. So essentially what we've got coming out alongside Dark Uprising. So if you don't want to buy the Dark Uprising, but you want to play the Corpse Grinder Guild, or you want to subjugate rules, or you want to play the Uprising campaign, you buy the Book of Ruin, So the Book of Ruin is essentially all the campaign book, the gang lists for enforcers and the chaos cults, without and the Gene Stealer cult. Actually, they brought the Gene Stealer rules in. So you've got the Corpse Grinder cult, the Chaos cults, which are your 4 god aligned cults,
Yeah.
and you've got Gene Stealer cults as well. As we know, the old Gene Stealer cult. So that Book of Ruin gives you all the rules for them and the Chaos Uprising campaign. So that I'm gonna probably end up picking that up as well, because there's elements of that I want in there. So one of the things you can get from the Book of Ruin is you can have your house gang fall to Chaos. So my Caldor gang could fall to Chaos, or my Goliath could fall to Khorne potentially, and that gives you elements of how you build that in. Or you can have your gang fall to become infected with Gene Stealers. So I saw a really cool Escher model which had the Gene Stealer, the new Gene. Yeah, remember they brought that Gene Stealer HQ model out, the lady with in the dress.
Yes.
Yeah. So you had an Escher model with her head on. So you got the 3 little ridges.
Uh-huh.
So very much all my Escher leaders starting to fall to the Gene. My Escher gang's becoming infected with the Gene Stealer cult. So you've got again another set of things you can add. I mean, we talk about Heresy being a super narrative game. I think Necromunda is the most narrative game out there. It is by far and away the most narrative game GW do, because there are so many supplements and things you can do. You can go absolutely ballistic into the deep narrative and fall to chaos or become Gene Stealer or be an outlaw gang. You can take your one gang and do 20 different things with them. But the nice thing
you
as
have
well,
narrative on a macro level rather than
because you're managing
in Heresy, but in
models.
micro, it's a micro level in
Yeah.
Necromunda, and I think because it's on a micro level, you're talking about, yes, you might have your Praetor or something in Heresy, but that's your leader
But
of your
your 20
army.
dudes
Whereas
in tax squads are just dudes, aren't they?
yeah, but with these guys, well, not if you've put a nameplate from Versatile Terrain on every single model of an army, which I may have done this year, but I think because it's a micro level kind of narrative, you feel closer to the models. You can feel closer to the narrative, don't you? So
absolutely.
Probably why you feel like that, and that makes sense, definitely.
You could never get that level of narrative into the big scale game of Heresy, and that's, like I said, Necromunda being the most narrative doesn't detract from Heresy. Necromunda is the scale to be able to do that kind of level of it. So I mean, if you said to me, right, I'm gonna start playing Necromunda, what do I need to do? The question would be, kind of, firstly, what's your budget? If you wanna start small, go out and buy the gang book, the Gangs of the Underhive, the rule book, and your gang book. If you want to play one of the house gangs, that gets you started, that get you going there, gets you playing the game, gets your models built, gets you enjoying the game. If you want to play enforcers, or you want to play one of the Corpse Grinder cults, Chaos cults, or Gene Stealer cults, okay, I need to pick up the Book of Ruin or the Book of Judgment, a specific book for that. But you would pick that up instead of your Gangs of the Underhive book.
Yeah.
So you would then, you get in there. Oh, do you need Gangs of the Underhive? No, the trading post is in, and the weapon stats is in the rule book.
Good. That's good.
So yeah, you can play that. So you pick up those books and you're away, and that's it. If you want a slightly bigger investment, and maybe you want to pick up the tokens, are great, not necessarily a requirement. If you've got 40k terrain, you can kind of play it without the terrain. But if you want to play the ZM version of the game, you might want to pick up the Underhive box, because you get the tiles and you get the bulkheads, you get the barricades, and you're away. Now, people are doing deals on the barricades and the bulkheads and stuff. A lot of game stores are, because I think they've got stock to get rid of. So you can pick those bits up separate as well. But I would probably, if you're going to go that far, pick up the Underhive box. You're going to need to pick up the rule book and the gang books, or the relevant campaign book for the gang you want, to supplement those as well, to make sure you're up. But again, that's probably your 125 quid buy-in. Now, if you're saying, you pick up something like Soul Wars or the 40k start box, you're going to need a few purchases after that box to get you playing the game, if that makes sense, because the armies in those start boxes are starter armies. So you're probably in the same region of those anyway by the time you've added a few boxes on. So again, you're at that relative start point price. If you want to go nuts to the wall, or you particularly want the ZM, then obviously you're going to be looking at Dark Uprising, and you're away with that. That's obviously your biggest buy-in point. So your buy-in point kind of depends where you are. Now, if you buy in at Dark Uprising and you want to play Enforcers or you want to play Corpse Grinder Cult, you buy the Dark Uprising box and you don't need to buy anything else on top of that because you're going to get your cards, your tokens, your rule book with your gang lists in as well, and your campaign in it as well. So you're ready to go. So,
but are all the rules there? You sort of seem to mention that it was stripped down a little bit, and so.
No, I just think it. I think it's when I say stripped down, I think it's more efficiently designed. I think you could play the game. There's nothing stopping you playing the game with the rule book you've got there. It's just maybe a rule book might be a nice purchase, but don't quote me on that until I've had time to go through the new rule book.
Yeah, I think what I might do is sift back through Twitch and look at the past videos, because I'm pretty sure they probably had a video out at the time with them and they're talking about exactly what that rule book is and how that compares with what's out, whether it's slimmed down or not.
As a starter point, it's more than enough to get you started playing. Yeah.
Sure.
You might, if you're talking second purchase after Dark Uprising, you might go, no, I'll pick up a rule book, but until I've had time to go through it, I wouldn't be able to say hand on heart. But yeah, I mean, like I said, so buying a gang and the books is the smallest starting point. Underhive plus a book is your middle. Uprising is your big box, but you don't need I would be fairly confident you don't need any purchase on top of that if you're wanting to play the gangs in the box.
Yeah.
And that gets you started. So once you've got your box, there are some community resources to go to. A couple of Facebook groups, as always, Necromunda groups. They're always good. Usually more for inspiration. Discussions can be interesting. The same as any Facebook gaming group. Listen to it again. Probably the best resource on the internet is the Yak Tribe website. So if you Google Yak Tribe Underhive, you get to the Yak Tribe Games site, and the Underhive section of it, it's basically a website for creating gangs and managing them. So you can create gangs on it. You can run through a campaign, adding your deaths and bonuses and all those kind of stuff. Anything that happens to your gang through the game, and you can add injuries and promotions to you. But one of the best things on it is you can produce your gang cards. So if anyone's seen Necromunda, you have cards with all your gangers stuff on them.
Yeah.
And your guns and your so when they do the box set, they do the pre-printed ones for the the suggested builds, which aren't always the best builds out the box, and then they give you a load of blank ones. And the blank ones are great; you can fill them in. But if you've got a cack hand like me, you end up making a mess of them. And as the campaign rolls on, if you get advancements and things, it can get messy.
Right. Yeah.
Now the nice thing is with the Yak Tribe one, if you update the gang, it updates the cards. And so I was finding when I was playing the campaign, I was printing off a new set of gang cards every time. And the ganger cards are really useful because they have all the stats on them. They have your gun stats on them as well. Now it has the traits on them usually. So like a pistol, it says stub gun, says sidearm and plentiful. So you still it doesn't give you all the rules. You still might have to look up a few rules, but it will at least give you the base. It gives you range, strength, damage, all those kind of stuff. So it's a good reference to start with. So I really like the Yak Tribe website. It's pretty much, I've not come across a website for a game that's as good for the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So specifically for the game, it's brilliant. Like I would not play Necromunda without it now because it just allows me to keep up it. Oh, let's have a look. I'm just looking. So there's a community forum on there as well. I've just noticed a post saying Dark Uprising rulebook, and they're starting to collaborate, put together all of the changes. So they've got internal conflicts, so where rules conflict in themselves, external conflicts, and errors and changes. So they're starting to collate all those. So what they got: external conflicts with previous publications, enforcers, equipment list, photo lumens cost 35, cost 15 in the Book of Judgment, and 20 is common from the black market. Solution: use the cost from the Book of Judgment. Corpse Grinder Cult lost access to photo goggles costing 35 from the Buckaroo, gained access to photo lumens costing 35. Solution: use photo goggles from the Buckaroo and discard photo lumens. So the community is moderating the book going as well to sort of
Right. Don't you always go
start.
by the latest publication with GW
Yeah,
stuff?
or whatever makes the most sense. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
would say that normally the latest, but when it's in a box that's expensive, and
yeah,
there is like the Book of Judgment that's out
yeah,
particularly for that gang, you think,
yeah,
yeah, interesting.
yeah.
I'm
So,
sure there'll
so
be, and
it's a
that'll be
good
part of an
community.
FAQ, won't it?
Yeah, it's a good community resource. So there's people discussing things. There's people discussing things and managing. The gang manager is brilliant, and it's a community as well. So that's a really good resource. A couple of podcasts out there. I am way behind with them, but there's the Chronicles of the Underhive podcast. They're a UK-based podcast. They've been covering heresy, Necromunda since the start. I think they try and put one out a month. I think they've had a bit of a delay lately, but they're really good. They're really on top of what's going on. So that's really good. And then there's the I Horus. If you're a heresy player, you'll know the I Horus, but they do one of their sub shows, which is the Gangbang Show. I haven't listened to a Gangbang Show yet. They're stacked up waiting to listen, but I've got so many podcasts to go through that I haven't listened to it. But the I Horus guys, you know the flavour it'll be very much fun. I listened to their latest AT one, which is the engine kill one, and that's really good. The quality of podcast is always good from those guys. So yeah, that about covers my notes. Anything you'd like to ask, Stu?
No, I think I've interrupted you a few times and made a couple of points there, but I think you've covered it. You've covered all the questions I had. The major ones for me were, well, why have we got 2 stars? What's the differences?
Yeah,
what do
yeah.
they cover? And then which books and things. And I get it now from the rule books. I was a bit confused before, but I get you got your core book. You've got your. I can give a direct comparison to, say, the Middle Earth books. You've got your rule book. You've got your armies book, and which are there too for Middle Earth, and then you've got your campaign books, and those campaign books have narrative campaigns, but also have a few extra rules in, and it's exactly the same format for the Middle Earth stuff as well. So I got my head around it now. I'm looking forward to. Should be next time we record. It might not be, but we should be next time we record. I'll be having a couple of games, a quick lot of intro game, and then hopefully, if I've built my enforcers, I'll have a proper game with them as well. So that'll be the next plan, really, and then I can give my proper thoughts 2 years after the release of the original game, or the original edition, shall we say? Give my thoughts on the game properly. Then I've loved, like I said, from a narrative point of view, from a visual point of view, it's brilliant. I've just been sort of focused on doing other things and never quite got round to it, but it's definitely a game that I'll be happy to spend some time painting a gang and having it on my shelf. And then it might well be, a couple of games a year, 2 or 3 games a year, or a little focused campaign, and I'll go back on the shelf again. But it's a good game for me that I could see myself dipping in and out of.
Yeah, with the campaign stuff, I mean, if you got a weekend with your mates, you got Friday night through to Sunday,
yeah, absolutely.
3 or 4, 5 of you can play through a campaign in that. The games range from 30, 40 minutes to maybe an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the size of the game and the complexity. So, you can rattle through games over beer and pretzels for a week. A campaign would make an excellent, get everyone together, have a weekend of beers and games.
Yeah.
Everyone plays because the campaigns tend to be broken into sections as well. You have they suggest a couple of weeks to play one, then you have some downtime, and then you play another bit of it. So you could very much have Friday we get together and have a few games. Saturday will be the start of this section. Saturday night essentially is downtime. Sunday is the second half of the campaign.
Yeah.
And then everybody goes away and builds up new models, stuff like that, or does whatever. Or you run one of the halves of the campaign over the course of a weekend. Everyone goes away, then builds up new models and stuff, and comes back and plays the second half in a month or two, So it definitely suits itself to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to giving it a go and painting those models at the moment. I would have built them by now, actually. It was more the kind of the realisation that I had such a short period of time to get the stuff ready for Throne of Skulls. Once that's done, I've not got any deadlines. There'll only be personal deadlines then. So they'll probably be the next things on the table to get built and started. Whether they'll be 100% painted or not, I don't know by the time we play, but I'm definitely up for fully painted before events, and probably even for club most of the time. But for learning games around your mate's house, I think I'm not going to stress too much if they're not fully painted by that time. But definitely looking forward to trying it out.
Awesome. Right. So yeah, hopefully next time we'll be back with some Stu's first thoughts on playing Necromunda. But we'll take a little break now, and we'll come back and we'll close out the show.
Lord Marshal, great sir. Legion reinforcements now visible on the left flank.
Ah, about time. The wolves, I see.
No sir. Ultramarines, sir.
But they're wearing grey, Proclamator Fennec.
Vox message said new recruits, sir. No time to paint armour.
At least the Raven Guard are in black armour.
Sorry, sir. That's more Ultramarines.
For Emperor's sake, box them and find out why.
Also new armour, sir. Their eye lenses are red, and the bolt guns are silver. 3 colours minimum, sir.
What the? Get on the Vox now and tell them to contact Miniature Realm Studio.
Miniature Realm Studio, sir.
Yes, Fennec. Miniature Realm Studio offers a commission painting service, competitive rates, and a range of painting standards to suit most budgets and requirements.
Yes, sir. I suppose they do say that fully painted is for closers.
What does that even mean, Fennec?
I don't know, sir.
Miniature Realms Studio can be found on Facebook, on Twitter at Miniature Realms, on Instagram at Miniature Realms Studio, or just drop Stuart an email at miniaturerealmsstudio@gmail.com.
Welcome back then. Just a little close out at the end as do a few little shout outs to do. So I think you've got the first shout out, haven't you, Stu?
Yeah, well, we've talked about my new podcast earlier on, but Sam and Beecher Jones has got his own new podcast as well. So Sam started a, how would you describe it? It's kind of D&D related podcast.
It's
where
a D&D. It's Sam's D&D related nonsense.
Yeah,
which is
it's not nonsense. It's really good.
Brilliant. No, it is nonsense, but it's brilliant. It's madness, and it's wonderful, and it's Sam.
Yes.
You know. I think the way he described it is it's a D&D setting of what happens in the world after the heroes have left. So it's all the NPCs that you would meet on your D&D campaign.
That's right.
But going into detail of them and what's happened after the village has been wrecked, after these adventurers have been through and torched everything and smashed it. And it's basically a vehicle for Sam to get all his creative madness out, and it's brilliant.
It's fun. So they're short shows. They're about half an hour long, and at the moment they're at the stage and they're basically workshopping these characters, coming up with a name, coming up with the background and details and voices, and it's really fun. Not very not safe for work. Once they've built them all, then they'll kind of develop the setting even more. But it's called APNP, so a proper narcissist podcast. There will be a link in the show notes. Go. It's hosted on Podbean. So the best thing to do, I know my new podcast is hosted on Podbean as well. So if you because they're quite new, sometimes when you Google, they don't always come up. So the best thing to do if you're not on iTunes, if you're a Android user or you just want to listen to it on your computer, is actually get the Podbean app open or get Podbean website up and actually search for APMP. Or you will.
I was going to say you're both over on iTunes for iTunes users.
Yes.
I'm listening to it on the podcast, the Apple Podcast app. But yeah, if you're not on
me too.
Apple, you might have to get Podbean.
I'm sure your apps for your Android things as well, it will work. But I know that if you're on a computer and you're looking for the website, it's just the easiest. Rather than just Google it, get up Podbean and just search it on there. So a proper narcissist podcast, and give them a listen. It's really good. I might as well use that as a segue to give myself another shout out. So if you want to listen to me talk about Middle Earth even more, and not so much on this podcast, do the same thing but search for Out of the Frying Pan. Again, that's hosted on Podbean, so if you're on a computer, just search it there. It's on iTunes. I'm pretty sure by searching that on any of your podcast apps, you will find us. Give us a listen. There's a page and a group for Out of the Frying Pan, and I believe there's definitely a page for APMP as well. Don't know if he's done a group, but there's definitely a page for them. So search them on Facebook and give us a likes and follows and etc. etc.
Yeah, excellent. I think that'll probably do for today, won't it? We've rattled on for long enough, so yeah, I think all that's left to say is take it easy, and we will be back soon.